All right. There we go. Alrighty, so we're looking at 13.3. We've used two examples so far where we used the grid to multiply, and we want to keep on going with that. Now, yesterday we had this last one right at the end of our class together, and so I was highlighting our last ideas that we have two real parts. Now, this 3i squared equals -1. We've got that idea at the top of our lesson and on the back page that we have. And so when we have that I squared equaling -1, it multiplies together with our 3 to get a -3. So I had two real parts, the first square and the last square. So kind of how we saw it before, our diagonals are going to start combining together. It's just that when we were using x's, we had an x squared, we had x's, and then we had a constant. Here we just have real and imaginary. So once we have our final answers, we're looking for some values we can combine together. So the -40 and 3 more negatives gave us that -43. And we had 24 positive i's, 5 negative i's. When we combine those together, we have a positive 19i. So I'm going to work our next one in the same way. We're going to keep on thinking about the grid using multiplication. And then I'll work together to kind of see how we can add our real and imaginary parts together. All right. So set this up with me. Let's set up our next grid. We're multiplying two complex numbers, so we need a 2 by 2 grid to make that happen. And we're multiplying 3 plus 2i times 3 plus 2i. That's what the squared means. Same thing times itself 2 times. Multiplying these times itself 2 times is going to be giving us some multiplication. So I keep on thinking about multiplying. All right, we're multiplying our numbers together. Let's multiply everything on the insides of the boxes as we know how to do it. So we have 3 times 3. Nine. We have 3 times 2i. So thinking about 3 times 2i, 3 times 2 is going to give us a 6, and we just have a single I. So 6i is what we're looking at in our upper right-hand box. Multiplying our columns down, we'll have the same value here too, because we have 3 times a positive 2i. 3 times 2i is still 6i. So I've got another 6i going on here. And then last but not least, if I have 2 times I times 2 times I, all multiplying together, our 2 times 2 is 4, and I times I is I squared. Now there's that I squared that we're looking at here. We should only see it showing up once when we're multiplying using the grid like this. There's going to be one place that will have that I squared if we're multiplying two complex numbers together like this. So I like to just put my little equals sign right outside of the box because I need to think about how that 4i squared is really 4 times a negative 1. Now these are multiplying together. If you're not a multiplier in your brain, that's okay. Be a multiplier with your calculator. So this last box, while it multiplied out to be 4i squared, we can work with it until it becomes a negative 4, a very real number, not imaginary. So I need to now add up all of my values inside the grid. If you like working on that diagonals like that, we're going to add up our 2 like this. And we're going to add our 6i and 6i. Now, if you like just filling in everything in the grid and then bringing it off to the side and knowing that we're just going to add everything together, take any negative signs with you. It's also okay to definitely write that on the side. Everything inside those 4 boxes will have 4 terms that we'll be adding together. Just make sure, like this is a negative 4, I'm taking my negative 4 with me. Take that negative sign along. And now we're looking back at what we saw in lesson 11 and 12, where we're going to find the real parts and add those real parts together. 9 plus a negative 4 is a positive 5. Six i's plus 6 more i's would give us 12i. Keep that real part first, imaginary part second, and we've got a fantastic answer. All right, we've got one more to tackle, and then I'm going to set you up to do some practices on your own. But this one I'm going to ask for some help from some students. So be ready with me to think of that step by step. What are we getting when we multiply each box together? I'll ask lots of different students for their input on this. But let's set up our grid. We're multiplying again. I see multiplication. So remember, if there's no sign in between there, we're going to multiply. We've got lots of space for this one, so I'm just going to move it on down here. And it doesn't matter which one we put on the side or which one we put on the top. We have a 3 plus 2i and a 3 minus 2i. So I'm taking that sign with it. Make sure whatever you see here just goes right down the side, and our second factor right across the top. Take the sign with it. We've got Aiden B up first and Emma on deck. So Aiden B, I'm going to ask you about this top right box. Emma on deck, I'm going to ask you about this second box here on the top right. Okay, so top left, top right. Aiden B, what are you getting when you multiply 3 times 3?
9.
Beautiful. Aiden's got a 9. I'm agreeing with Aiden so much. Emma's going to tell us the top right box.
-6.
Wonderful. All right, -6. We got one more thing that goes in there. What else is going to go in there? I. Nice. Good catch. -6I is going to happen there. Morgan, I'm going to ask you about this bottom left box, and then Miranda right after, taking care of that one right next door, the bottom right box. So Morgan on the bottom left, Miranda bottom right. Morgan, what are you getting here with the bottom left box?
6I.
Nice. 6I. Good thing going on there. Miranda, how about this last one?
-4I squared.
Very nice. Yep, you got it. You got it. And I love that. Even if we're not quite sure, we can maybe look at an example and be like, yep, we're looking at that same thing. Love that you had a positive times a negative, came up with a -4, and then that I squared. Wyatt, will you talk me through how we're going to simplify this I squared thing? What does I squared equal?
I equals what? I don't know. Has an I times I equals I squared, so I don't know I equals.
Yep.
So, -1.
There we go. Nice. All right. So I'm hopeful that that'll just keep on becoming kind of second nature, that idea that you're very right that I squared is I times I, the way we think about that, though. But once we multiply two square roots together against each other, it's like the square root of -1 squared, and those things, the squared and the square root will cancel out. Xander, how about this? What are we going to get when we start simplifying this to our last step here?
+4.
Perfect. Nice. It's just going to turn it to a +4. If you need to put a plus sign there, so you remember it's a +4 now, because a negative times a negative will give us a positive. All right, 8 and H, we're coming your way. We want to think about all of these things that we're going to be able to add together. So I'm going to use some more of my space down here. Rewrite those values that we got inside those 4 boxes. What would you combine together first, Aiden?
The 9 and the 4.
All right, 9 and 4. What are we getting when we have a 9 and a +4? 13. Beautiful. And Faith, help me out with the I situation. What are we getting when we combine our two I numbers together? 0. Just like that, we've got a great answer to this problem. So we happen to have 6 negative I's and 6 positive I's. When we add those together, we will end up with a 0 I's left over. So 0 I's going on. All right. Love that you guys are helping me out with that. Really appreciate it. Working through some of those. Our big idea is this I squared equaling -1 and how we can multiply those together. Any questions from our multiplying complex numbers together here in lesson 13.3? All right. I want to give you a chance to, let's go back to the previous page. And we have 2 columns going on here, column A and column B. So I'm on page 93, thinking about column A and column B. I'd like you to tackle a couple of these together. So I'm going to ask you to work with somebody else in class. My friends here at home, I've got some breakout rooms that we'll get you set up in. Friends here, I'm just going to ask you to work with the person who's near you. So Emma, would you work with AJ? Xander, would you work with Faith? And Aiden, would you work with Wyatt? to get these going. And we'll set up a couple different groupings that we'll work on. And then we'll share out our steps and ideas about how we're solving it. You should work with the ones in column A, and they should match up to an answer in column B. Now, not every value in column B gets used, and sometimes a value in column B gets used twice. All right, so if you're getting the same answer 2 times, don't freak out. That's A-okay. All right. So let's just kind of go in sets of, yeah, let's do that. Let's go in pairs of 2. So AJ and Emma, if you guys could start with these top 2. Aiden and Wyatt, would you guys work on those next 2? I'm going to ask Faith and Xander to work on the next pair. And then for my at-home friends, Aiden, I would love for you to work with Miranda. I'm going to ask you guys to head to breakout room number 1. I'll get you set up with that. I'd like you guys to also work on the middle 2 here. So number 3 and 4. So we're also going to have Aiden and Miranda working together on those 2. Excuse me. And then Morgan and Micaiah, if you guys would work on these next 2, the 8 I to the 3rd and the I to the 4th. All right. So let me get some breakout rooms to my friends here. My friends here in person, you guys can stand up, move around so you can be near each other. Work on the 2 that you've got assigned to you, make a match. If you don't have a match, that means you need to kind of try it again and give it another shot. There are my links for you guys in breakout rooms. Aiden, Miranda, if you would go to room 1, the first link up there. Micaiah, Morgan, head to room 2. I think I've got those open and ready to go. Yep. And I'm going to keep you on mute here in the classroom so we can't hear you guys have conversation. So please turn on those microphones, talk to each other, show each other your work. All right? So some nice work for you to head to.
This is Derby.
Yes.
I don't really know. What are we supposed to be doing?
It looks like you're doing some multiplying together of imaginary numbers. So you're multiplying whatever your 2 numbers are, and you're looking for an answer in the right column.
Okay, so the ones right across from our plate aren't the actual answer.
Right.
Find it.
Yep. So this is going to match up with some number or value somewhere in column B. All right. Nice.